We open up for the Gospel of Mark, starting with verse 24 of the 13th chapter. This is one of those that is about preparing for the future. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. Then he will send out the angels and gather his elect from the four winds, from the ends of the earth to the ends of heaven. From the fig tree, learn its lessons. As soon as its branch becomes tender and puts forth its leaves, you know that summer is near. So also, when you see these things taking place, you know that he is near, at the very gates. Truly, I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all these things have taken place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. But about that day or hour no one knows, neither the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Be aware, keep alert, for you do not know when the time will come. It is like a man going on a journey, when he leaves home and puts his slaves in charge, each with his work, and commands the doorkeeper to be on the watch. Therefore keep awake, for you do not know what hour the master will come, in the evening or midnight, or at the cock's crowing, or at dawn. Or else he may find you asleep when he comes suddenly. And what I say to you, I say to all, keep awake. To get things started, what is your favorite Christmas food? Would it be the turkey or the ham? Mashed potatoes or stuffing? Maybe it's Christmas candy, homemade, or possibly those Christmas sugar cookies cut out in the little shapes. So, which kind of sugar cookie tastes best? Is it the Christmas tree or the Santa Claus shape? These are fun things to think about. One Christmas story that exists in my family tree goes back to when my parents were dating. Now, my grandmother, this would be my mom's mom, she liked to experiment in the kitchen. And one time she was a little short on lard for making some chocolate chip cookies. So she thought, I'll just borrow a tablespoon of bacon grease from the grease jar. I'll take from the top. She thought it looked rather clean. And so she baked the cookies, but unfortunately they kept too much of that bacon flavor. And this was on a Friday. So grandmother just set the cookies aside on a plate, not sure what to do with them. A couple hours later, my dad comes over to take my mother on their Friday night date. So mom meets dad at the back door where the kitchen was. And right after dad said hello to mom, dad saw the unguarded plate of cookies. Before mom could say, no, Bob, don't. That is an experiment. Dad grabbed a cookie and popped the whole thing in his mouth. Dad made a funny face, but he kept chewing. Mom couldn't help laughing. Mom said, those cookies are an experiment. None of us had the courage to throw them out yet. So my mom said, but if you like them, I could wrap them up for you. And my dad said, that's okay. I learned my lesson. Don't take cookies without asking. This morning we are talking about a certain kind of Christmas food. We are going to look at the source of figgy pudding. In Mark chapter 13, Jesus talks about the fig tree. He talks about it as a symbol of timekeeping, both physical time and spiritual time. So let us go back to the time when Jesus was born. In Israel, figs were one of the big three mainstays in the fruit department. So we're talking about grapes, figs, and dates. There's a good chance that Mary and Joseph may have packed all three of these foods for their trip to Bethlehem. All three of these foods can be dried out in the sun to preserve them. So the grapes would be raisins, and the figs and dates would also be dried preserves. And looking at the fig itself, it is nearly a complete food. It has just about every vitamin from A to Z except B12 and D. As for minerals like iron, potassium, zinc, figs are loaded with these like a multivitamin. We need to remember that Mary and Joseph could not stop at the nearest McDonald's. King David had not started a restaurant chain called McDavid's. There's a big help to Mary and Joseph to be able to pack high nutrition, lightweight foods for the 100-mile journey. Meanwhile, back at the figgy pudding. What is figgy pudding? Every time we sing We Wish You a Merry Christmas, we get to the part that says, Bring us some figgy pudding. All the years that we've been Christmas caroling as the church, no one has ever brought out figgy pudding. We all just smile at each other and say that's some kind of old-fashioned food. Figgy pudding is from the Dark Ages. It goes way back to 1300 AD. Historians found a French cookbook called The Form of Curie, as in culinary curie. It tells how to make figgy pudding. You start with some figs, add some grains such as wheat or oats, add some spices, and add heat. Some people make it into a loaf, a ring, or a muffin. Figgy pudding often looks like a sweetbread. The concept of figgy pudding shows up in some other Christmas foods. For the Hispanic community, they celebrate Las Posadas. That is where the neighborhood makes a procession behind some people dressed up like Mary and Joseph, going around on the donkey. After the little Mary and Joseph parade, people go home to eat tamales, pambazos, and churros. The pambazos, I learned, well, they look like a sweetbread similar to figgy pudding. Over in Wales, England, they have a sunrise service at church. The men sing Christmas music, and then later on, they may be having Christmas goose, plum pudding, toffee, and bar a breath, which is their loaf cake. Both the pambazos and bar a breath may have raisins or figs in them. The fig tree was a food source for Jesus and his parents. The fig tree was also a source of spiritual food for Jesus. He used it as a symbol for his parables. The fig tree was a symbol of peace and prosperity in Israel. When the figs were healthy, Israel was also healthy. The fig tree was a symbol of the seasons. In April, the fig tree would show its fruit in the green stage. This was the sign of spring. In August, the fig tree would then have the fruit go into the purple stage. This meant the harvest was near. The fig tree is also a symbol of being spiritually fed. When we are feeding on the good words of Jesus Christ, we bear good fruit. We feel the faith, the hope, the love. Jesus' focus on the fig tree helps us focus on the spiritual food we need. This morning we realized that all of these sweetbreads are a form of making a birthday cake for Jesus. They help us celebrate our ultimate Christmas surprise, the birth of Jesus, who would become the bread of life for us. That is why we sing about figgy pudding. We're singing about Jesus, our Christmas surprise. Amen.